Good morning and welcome to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara. Today, we're focusing on the developing story between Italy and the United States, particularly in the context of NATO's involvement in the conflict with Iran. We've seen a significant escalation in tensions over the past week, with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni publicly condemning the war in Iran and U.S. President Donald Trump's attacks on Pope Leo XIV. Recently, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte sparked controversy by stating that hundreds of U.S. aircraft had taken off from American bases in Italy to support military operations against Iran. However, the Italian government has pushed back against these remarks, insisting that Rome had only authorized technical and logistical flights, not direct military action. Defense Minister Guido Crosetto emphasized that Italy acted in full compliance with its constitution and international agreements governing Allied bases on its soil. He expressed surprise at Rutte's comments, suggesting they conveyed a misleading message by confusing support flights with combat-related operations. This incident has further strained ties between Meloni and Trump, who were involved in a public spat last week over Italy's refusal to support the U.S. military campaign against Iran. The situation is complex, with opposition leaders in Italy demanding fresh explanations from the government and some even questioning whether the government had misled lawmakers or if Rutte's statements were inaccurate. As we navigate these intricate diplomatic relationships, it's essential to consider the historical context and the implications of such tensions on global stability. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization summit in Ankara next month will undoubtedly be a critical venue for further diplomacy as nations seek to find common ground and de-escalate the current crisis. We'll continue to monitor the situation closely and provide updates as more information becomes available. For now, it's clear that the relationship between Italy, the U.S., and NATO is at a crossroads, with significant consequences for international relations and global security. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're taking a closer look at the evolving security landscape in Southeast Asia. A recent development has seen several countries in the region strengthening their defense partnerships, with a focus on preserving strategic autonomy and preventing disputes from being settled by force or intimidation. The Philippines and Vietnam have upgraded their relations, with Manila and Hanoi agreeing to enhance defense cooperation, including maritime law, humanitarian assistance, counterterrorism, and peacekeeping. This move is seen as a response to Chinese pressure in the South China Sea, where both countries have overlapping maritime claims. India has also entered the scene, with New Delhi signing a deal to supply Vietnam with the BrahMos missile system, which will strengthen Hanoi's coastal defense capabilities. This development marks a significant shift in India's Act East policy as it moves beyond diplomacy and trade to include defense exports and strategic signaling. Meanwhile, Japan and Australia are also playing important roles in the region's security dynamics. Tokyo has concluded a reciprocal access agreement with Manila, allowing for greater operational cooperation between their militaries. Canberra, on the other hand, has signed the Jakarta Treaty with Indonesia, creating a framework for consultation and cooperation at the top level of government. It's worth noting that these expanding defense partnerships are not necessarily aimed at creating a formal anti-China alliance. Rather, they reflect a desire among regional players to strengthen their own capabilities and enhance their strategic autonomy, while avoiding antagonizing Beijing. As we continue to monitor developments in this complex and dynamic region, one thing is clear. The South China Sea story is no longer just about China and the United States. It's also about middle powers learning to work together, navigating the limits of great power influence, and forging their own paths towards greater security and cooperation. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. Today we're discussing the latest developments in Peruvian politics. After a closely contested election, Keiko Fujimori has emerged as the winner, set to become Peru's first elected female president. With 98.86% of the vote counted, Fujimori garnered an unbeatable lead, although her opponent Sanchez has claimed fraud and refused to recognize her victory. Fujimori's win follows 3 previous failed bids, and analysts say her resilience underscores the enduring strength of Fujimorismo, the movement built around her late father, former president, Alberto Fujimori. A divisive figure who governed from 1990 to 2000, he was credited for bringing stability to the country but condemned by critics as authoritarian. As president, Fujimori will face significant challenges, including rising crime, corruption, and political instability. She has proposed reviving faceless judges, a controversial system used in the 1990s to prosecute terrorism and drug cases, which was later condemned by rights groups for undermining due process. Her running mate, Luis Galarreta, describes her as a new Keiko, who is more reflective and pragmatic after spending nearly a year and a half in pretrial detention over illegal campaign financing allegations. However, Fujimori remains a divisive figure, with opponents arguing that her right-wing Popular Force Party has contributed to Peru's broader cycle of instability. Protests against her candidacy drew hundreds of leftist supporters and civil society groups in Lima ahead of the runoff. As she takes office, Fujimori will need to navigate a fragmented party system and build alliances to govern effectively. In conclusion, Keiko Fujimori's election as Peru's president marks a significant moment in the country's history. While her victory is a testament to her perseverance, it also underscores the ongoing challenges facing Peru. As we watch developments unfold, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and remain informed about the complex issues at play. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.